So a headlamp can really grab my attention when it's lightweight, it has multiple ways to power itself, it has a strong power output, and has a good battery life. Well, the Petzl Actik Core series of headlamps hits 3 out of 4 of those features, which means that it definitely sets itself apart from a crowded market of lightweight headlamps, but it's not perfect. And so today, after a few months of use, I'm going to share with you what my experience has been with this series of headlamps and what the positives are, what are some of the drawbacks, and whether or not it's worth throwing in your gear rotation when you're looking for hands-free illumination. Now, the first attribute is the BiFuel capability. That's really what made me gravitate to it. I'm always looking for ways that I can power my flashlights, and in this case, my headlamps, on multiple different power sources. So each one of these can be powered through AAA powered batteries, and they have a few different models to choose from with different types of outputs that we'll get into a little bit later. Now, you can use those AAA powered batteries. That's pretty standard, and that means that they're very accessible and you can use them on a regular basis. The positive and kind of unique feature is that it has a proprietary battery bank option that you can purchase as well. The model that I have, which is the most powerful out of the series, came with this battery bank. So it fits in the same compartment. It is rechargeable through a micro USB, which means that, particularly for me, when I am using my headlamp quite a bit, we've been on the road for the last year in the place we're out here in South Dakota, there's no light pollution, there's no street lights, and so walking the dog at night or just working around the RV, I gotta have hands-free illumination, and so I don't have to constantly be burning through my AAA powered batteries. So that proprietary battery is a benefit because it not only keeps the bulk of the headlamp down, whereas if I was running a rechargeable, say, CR123 or 18650 battery, the overall headlamp body would be a lot heavier, but it also bleeds right into number 2 that I like, which is lightweight. This thing comes in at only 75 grams with that battery bank, so that proprietary aspect does help with those 2 attributes, but it does detract from the fact that when it does finally die out on me, I'm gonna be stuck going back to either AAAs or gonna have to find that battery bank from Petzl and buy another one directly, from them or through a distributor that they partner with. So there's a little bit of a trade-off there, but the 2 aspects of giving me 2 options to power this headlamp and keeping it slim and lightweight are big benefits. So the third out of the 4 features that I look for that I'm really happy with is the power output. For how lightweight and compact and versatile this headlamp is, it does have quite a bit of power, with the high being 450 lumens at a distance of about 90 meters is what you're going to be able to have in penetration to be able to see what you're doing. Then at medium, it's going to be 100 lumens, and then you are going to have a low at 6 lumens, each one of them having a lot of good capability. And as an added bonus, this does have a red light that you can either use as a dedicated standard, or you can click it over to strobe, and that will be able to run as well. So you have 2 features on that red light, and the red light is always an extra benefit for those of you who don't want to ruin your night vision, or you don't want a ton of bugs just clouding you depending on where you live. Now we've got 3 good attributes. The 4th one that I was hoping for, that I'm a little melancholy on, is the battery life. Now these numbers are based off of the core battery bank. I would assume AAA power is going to be close, if not maybe a little bit diminished compared to the numbers I'm about to share with you. Now on the 450 high setting, we're only going to get 2 hours of power before this battery bank is dead. That's not super impressive. It gets enough done that if you need to see for short periods of time, and see distances for a minute or 2, great. And you can do that for several times. But if you're gonna need that distance for an extended period of time, say you're trekking out somewhere, you got stuck somewhere, you got turned around and you got all night to hike out, or you're doing a night hike, and you feel like 450 lumens is kind of necessary and you need that depth and projection of light, it's just not going to work for you. It just doesn't have quite the power that I was hoping for in longevity. Now, the 100 lumen medium is where I tend to use it the most. That is a lot more reasonable at 8 hours of battery life, and these are all pretty consistent from what I've seen now, having drained the battery many, many times and recharged it. This is staying pretty consistent around 8 hours if I was to leave it on. That is much more reasonable. I could easily hike out of a situation in a scenario like that, and that's basically a full night's worth. That's kind of how I rate it and how I view it. and that gives me a long time of using it in just general tasks around a campground or around a work site without much difficulty. And then finally, that 6 lumen go for over 130 hours. So I mean, forever, really. So I mean, you know, if necessary and you absolutely had to have some illumination, you got turned around in a cavern, I think, or you know, just something like that. Worst case scenario, you have a long battery life of those 6 lumens, enough to see what's in front of you, work on something if you had to, and be able to illuminate the surroundings in your very close vicinity. And then the red light as well goes for hundreds of hours because of the low juice that a red light is required to absorb. So pricing varies depending on the model that you go with. I believe at time of purchase, there were 3 different models that were available, with highs being 450, which is what I have, 350, and then 250. I will have links in the description box below for all of the Actik models that you can take a look at to see which option and which variety may make sense for you if this headlamp is checking enough boxes that it makes sense to put into rotation. The 250 is 20 bucks, and it does not come with the battery bank. You can buy that separate, and I believe that was $30. Yeah, but you could start out if you wanted to. You know, if price is an issue, you could just get the cheapest $20 one, start running your AAAs, and then over time, if you see a lot of value in it or you're just using it a lot, boom, get that battery bank and you're good to go. And you still can use that in all of the Actik Core, I believe is how you pronounce it, series of lights. They transition through all 3 different lights. The model that I have, which is kind of like currently in 2022, the premium one, that one I believe was $70. That did include the battery bank. And so I believe with the battery bank included, it was a decent price point. You know, and just depending on how much you use your headlamp may have a lot of versatility, and giving you still lightweight capability, BiFuel, as well as a lot of power for how compact and lightweight it is. And the only drawback being, depending on how you want to use the light, the amount of power you're going to have before it dies on you. So I look forward to hearing your guys' comments, what your thoughts are on this particular series and model. If there are any questions that maybe I missed, I'll do my best to answer them in the description or in the comment section below. And let me know if there are other headlamps and brands that you want me to test out and review and, you know, take with me on my adventures, so that I can see how they perform as well. I do invite you guys to subscribe if you're not yet a subscriber. Check out the other video popping up. And until next time, always remember, stay equipped, stay prepared, and I'll see you out there.